G'day guys and gal. It's good to be back after the last 2 weeks of no regular video uploads other than the Space Sharks courtesy of Sleepy Sack who edited that one together for me. Cheers G. Does this mean the animation is finished? Not quite. However, I have done all the work on it I can do at the moment and now I'm just waiting for the professional animator I hired to finish scene 3. Spoilers, scene 3 is hectic and very difficult to animate, which also means it's going to look awesome when it comes out. In the meantime, what other video is better to cover than the buddy cop series of an angry unkillable midget with an overpowered axe and a surprisingly capable bard who seems to lose the love of his life every 5 minutes? Gotrek and Felix. Gotrek and Felix have a special place in every fantasy fan's heart, so today we'll be discussing their origins, how they met, what adventures they got up to, and what happened to them during the end times, and finally, if they're still around in Age of Sigmar. I'll also discuss why they're so beloved. Let's get into it. Starting us off with Gotrek. As you know, the heroes weren't born as conjoined twins and both lived very interesting lives before meeting each other. Gotrek wasn't always the most powerful slayer to ever live. No, being a slayer is not a good thing and not a desired outcome of a dwarf when they're born. After all, the job of a slayer is to die in order to erase the shame of a previous dishonor they may have committed. While this sounds easy, they aren't just gonna kill themselves. They aren't 15-year-old white girls, alright? They're slayers. They slay and slay until they are slain. Gotrek was an engineer in his youth, and whilst the details behind him shaving his hair and becoming a ginger are sketchy, it appears that during a northern expedition, things went wrong, as they usually do when people go north towards the Chaos Wastes. Gotrek's expedition gets massacred and he is chased into a cave by some beastmen. In the cave he discovers a dwarven corpse wielding an axe surrounded by dozens of beastmen and demon skeletons. Gotrek is like, okay then, and grabs the axe, which, fortunately for Gotrek and unfortunately for every bad guy to ever exist in Warhammer Fantasy Universe, was the axe of Grimnir, the Dawe god of war and Mohawks. Gotrek wrecks the beastman's tits before heading back to his home. Upon arriving, he finds it destroyed and his family dead. He goes to the nearest lord and requests warriors to get revenge for a serious grudge he now had, and the lord instead mocked him and ordered him to be seized. This was to be a bad call by the Dawe lord, who found himself and his bodyguard quickly chopped up like sashimi, as Gotrek ended a slayer-esque rage. Now, massacring your local lord is not a very good call for most people, hence in shame, Gotrek took the Slayer Oath and began seeking a glorious death out in the world. Felix was born as a privileged white kid who always dreamed of adventure. He thought that if he studied hard enough to become a bard, he could tag along with some legendary heroes' journey and write about their feats and legend. Well, Felix probably should have spent more time singing and less time becoming a master swordsman, as he accidentally killed a fellow privileged white student at his university. Felix was kicked from the uni and more or less disowned by his family. In one of Emperor Karl Franz's more questionable policies as emperor, he introduced a window tax. The tax of your property would now depend on the amount of windows you had. This led to riots which Felix helped instigate, which then led to the Reichsguard charging into a mob and killing a lot of people. Very questionable times for the otherwise pretty solid Karl. Felix was about to become a pancake from this civil rights defying charge. However, Gotrek, who was an Altdorf at the time, pulled him to safety at the last second. They then went off on a bender, and after Gotrek told Felix about his epic quest for legendary death, Felix got super moist and drunkenly pledged his life to Gotrek, to write down his deeds and legend and to be bound to him until the day Gotrek would finally die. Well, joke's on you Felix, Gotrek never dies. Well, at least not permanently. Hence, Felix sold his soul to a life of epic adventure and horrific misery. So began the legend of Gotrek and Felix. And the legend would begin straight away, as it turns out that Gotrek and Felix were wanted men. Felix for starting a riot, and Gotrek for killing some of the Reichsguard. Hence, they fled the city in a stagecoach, but got dumped into a haunted forest on the Warhammer equivalent of Halloween, after Gotrek told the driver to go fuck himself after the driver kept making midget jokes. After a bit of wandering, they nearly got run over by an evil-looking stagecoach. Man, these stagecoaches have not been kind to our heroes. And they followed it. They encountered a village of people who were hiding in the tavern, as Warhammer Halloween was way less fun than real Halloween, as demons are a thing in Warhammer. The townsfolk tell them that weird, evil stuff happens in the forest, and that the innkeeper's son and fiancée had gone missing. Well, upon hearing about the chance to die, Gotrek got super hyped, hence him and Felix went on their way to find some of the Halloween demons. And find them they did. An orgy of mutants and cultists with a baby about to be sacrificed by the masked man from the evil coach. Our heroes charge in. Gotrek killing excessive ass while Felix was able to survive, as it turns out being a mutant with a goat head doesn't make you a very good fighter. Eventually our heroes were surrounded, hence Felix said a prayer to Jeff the cheese god and threw a knife at the masked man, killing him and breaking the morale of the demonic trick-or-treaters. After taking off the mask of the dead cult leader like some morbid Scooby-Doo reveal, they found out it was the innkeeper's son. Gotrek and Felix took the baby to a nearby temple and vowed never ever to return to the village. Gotrek heard of a legendary troll guarding treasure at Karak 8 Peaks. This was awesome, as if Gotrek died in battle against the troll, then hell yeah, but if he won, then he would get the treasure, so double hell yeah. Our adventurers joined a large caravan heading that way, led by an arrogant baron. During their journey they were attacked by all manners of creatures, including various wolf rider raids. However, in between Gotrek and his axe, so much ass was kicked that the raids slowed down, as goblins aren't super keen on fighting the avatar of Grimnir. Felix on the other hand met a woman on the caravan and fell in love with her. After fighting off an undead ambush triggered by some dick within the caravan, Felix told Gotrek that he loved this girl and he wished to be released from his oath so he could marry her. Before Gotrek could reply, a massive goblin wolf rider force was upon them and they prepared for battle. Felix ran to his lady whilst Gotrek promised to hold the line as a one-man army. Upon finding his love, she was dead. Not by the greenskins, but by the dick who was sabotaging the caravan. The dick was aptly named Manfred, as all dicks in Warhammer are. In a rage, Felix fought the more powerful Manfred, however was able to kill him after kicking him in the balls. Felix then walked out to where the greenskins were and prepared to die, however instead he found Gotrek, alive, missing one eye and surrounded by the dead goblin army. Felix was dead inside at this point, and when he approached Gotrek, Gotrek said, "There are still trolls to kill," and Felix, now with nothing to lose, replied, "Then let's go get him." Hence, the adventure continued. As they arrived at the 8 Peaks, they teamed up with some other adventurers and ripped a pretty serious toll on the greenskins they encountered. With this new merry band of cannon fodder, they entered in and discovered the treasure they sought, as well as a giant chaos troll. The troll insta-killed the entire group, bar Gotrek and Felix, as Gotrek was hacking away at the creature and Felix was shitting himself and had not yet charged in. He saw that fire hurt the beast and that Gotrek had no fire, hence Felix made a Molotov and threw it at the troll, burning it to death. The heroes would not catch a break, however, as another goblin army approached them. Felix drew a sacred sword from the treasure pit and prepared to meet his fate. However, fate once again would not be done with our heroes, as Darway ghosts emerged and butchered the goblin forces. Armed with a new fancy sword as well as a mad story about killing a chaos troll, our heroes continued on. They would return to Altdorf and fight off hordes of beastmen and slay powerful chaos warriors, eventually ending up at Nuln. Now Gotrek and Felix were still wanted men in the Empire for their previous crimes. This isn't GDA, you know, people don't just forget about dead Reichsguard and riots. Hence to get into the city they had to take the low-key and low-paying job of a sewer jack, basically mercenaries that patrolled the sewers killing goblins, mutants, and the Skaven. Whilst this was going on, Felix was reunited with his brother, Otto, who told Felix that he could be forgiven of his crimes if he came home. Before Felix could decide, he realised that the head of the secret police in Nuln was actually working with the Skaven, as he recognised them from the sewers when they had a brief encounter. The secret police tried to sabotage Gotrek and Felix, burning down the house of one of their friends and sending Skaven after them. But this is Gotrek and Felix! Secret police and Skaven are no match for the greatest heroes in Warhammer Fantasy! Hence, with a bit of slick detective work, our heroes infiltrated the headquarters of the secret police and killed their leader. Needless to say, it was time for a new job. Gotrek and Felix became bouncers for a tavern. One night, Felix saved a girl from getting gang raped, and as a thank you, she sucked his cock. I'm not even joking, that's actually in the law. Mid-blow, Felix heard a strange scratching noise, and then suddenly, the Skaven of Clan Ashin came forth for revenge. By this point, Felix had fought all kinds of monsters, so a rat was no match for him. But then dozens of rats came, and it was only the intervention of Gotrek and the other bouncers that were able to kill the Skaven and save Felix. This was to be the start of a pretty vicious conflict between the Skaven and our heroes. From here, the adventures of Gotrek and Felix played out like an RPG game, with them having double XP on or some shit. They became insanely powerful and took down or fought off ridiculous amounts of overpowered enemies. These include a Bloodthirster of Khorne, a Chaos Lord of Titsnich, Chaos Dragon, a Nagashrim-powered Vampire Lord, a Sky Titan, a Greater Demon of Slaanesh, Thanquol and all of his apocalyptic schemes, and Throg, the Troll King. I mean, all of their novels have the word Slayer in it, so you can assume each one will result in some kind of boss fight. Now, a massive theme of Gotrek and Felix is that thrusting yourself into apocalyptically dangerous situations and adventures is good for your health. Gotrek never died, and Felix became immortal. Not sure how, but hanging out with a dwarf who is rapidly becoming a god, whilst also wielding a legendary dragon sword yourself, is probably not the most far-fetched way to stay youthful. The adventures of Gotrek and Felix span dozens of years, and Felix was actually more youthful by the end of them than when he was started. His brother Otto was 70 by the end, and noted upon Felix's youth. As a disclaimer, if you are a midget or rich white kid and decide to go on adventures that end in mass violence and suffering, I am not responsible. With the crumping of Throg, we have reached the end times for Gotrek and Felix, and they once again save the day by kicking the tits out of Be'lakor, who is attempting to become the 5th Chaos God. Gotrek finally met his long-awaited doom by fighting Grimnir in a duel. That's right, it took the Gawade god of war to bring Gotrek down. Gotrek was then promptly revived and empowered even further, much to his own dismay. He then jumped into the realms of chaos and began killing chaos itself. Felix gets teleported to a crumbling Slayer temple, where he was either crushed, ran out of oxygen, or hung out until the end of the world consumed him. Gotrek then fights back to back with Grombrindal and the other Dawe heroes until the world explodes. He is then sucked into the realms of chaos as he is too powerful to be destroyed outright, where he goes full Doomslayer specs until Sigma wanks off some dragon and we end up with the realms of Age of Sigma. Gotrek is currently running around confused out of his mind as he tries to find Felix, as well as his axe. He's a full-blown demigod at this point, even without his fun tools. He continues to slay some serious arse, but as of yet, there is no sign of Felix. Now, out of all the many characters in Warhammer Fantasy, why does Gotrek and Felix hold such a special place? That's because they represent the adventure of Warhammer, not the large-scale wars or politics or religious messages, no. It's pure, fun, unadulterated adventure in which they kick ass, get laid, and get drunk. Seriously though, Gotrek may be a beast, but the true slayer is Felix when it comes to smashing puss. It's good to see Gotrek return in Age of Sigma as the exact same Dawi we know and love, and I'm keen to see Felix come back in as well. The Gotrek and Felix series has a lot of books, and I obviously can't cover them all in detail within 15 minutes, so if you enjoyed this video then consider picking up a copy. Brian Bless does the audiobooks for Realmslayer and he voices Gotrek in Total War Warhammer, so that's a nice little Easter egg there. And that does us for today guys, the lore and story of Gotrek and Felix and their adventures. If you enjoyed the video, like boobs, and want to support the channel, then Patreon is the place to be. $1 gives you access to a boatload of Warhammer titties, and $10 gives you access to the Majorkill hentai calendar. Hit the subscribe button, then hit the real subscribe button for more adventurous content. Join the Discord for more memes, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.